This man was a rookie at age 27 and didn't become an NFL starter till he was 29, but he's a Hall of Famer. Why is Stetson Bennett on the screen? Please take him down. He is clearly 45 years old. I'm doing this video because if you're my age, I don't think you've really heard this full story. Only recently did I really learn all the details about Roger Staubach's life, and I was like, oh my gosh, why aren't we talking about this more? This guy has lived the life of a movie character. It's just so unreal, it doesn't seem real. I don't know why this isn't brought up every season. Like, why aren't we talking about Roger Staubach every season and the crazy story of his life? Roger Staubach was born in a suburb of Cincinnati and didn't play quarterback till his senior year of high school. Like many NFL players today, Roger spent his first year out of high school playing JUCO football at the New Mexico Military Institute. This JUCO year was also to prepare him for his upcoming studies at the Naval Academy. In that 1 year at the New Mexico Military Institution, he set a school record for touchdowns scored and passing yards. In 1961, he enrolled in the Naval Academy but was very close to not getting in. Someone's mistake was actually the reason Roger was able to attend. While taking his physical for the school, Roger had to do the color vision test. He missed a few of the dots, but the guy running the test wasn't really paying attention, so he passed Roger. And that's the only time in his life Roger has passed a color vision test. He's technically colorblind. Heading into his sophomore year, Roger was the fourth string quarterback, and it didn't seem like he would see the field. But after two quarterbacks went down with injury and one played really badly, Roger saw the field for the first time in the middle of the third game of the season. The next game, Roger wasn't the starting quarterback, but after Navy's offense stalled, the coach decided to put Roger in. After Roger went in, he led the midshipmen on 6 touchdown drives. It was pretty clear they had found their quarterback. He capped off his sophomore season, leading Navy to a big upset win over Army, where President JFK was in attendance. In 1963, Navy Sports Information Director Bud Thalman launched what is known as the first Heisman campaign. He would basically grab all the quotes from the previous game about Staubach from opposing coaches, from the media, from anyone saying anything good about Staubach, and then put it all together on one page and distribute it. He also had Roger take photos without his face mask on, which Roger absolutely hated. He thought it made him look super weird. But Thalman did that so people could recognize Roger's face and see his face without some face mask bars in the way. Thalman's plan with the press worked, and Roger obviously helped out by playing absolutely incredible his junior year and went on to win the Heisman in 1963. In 1964, while Staubach was still in college, the Cowboys used a 10th round future pick to draft him. Staubach graduated the Naval Academy in 1965. He could have fulfilled his service requirement in the United States, but he volunteered to go to Vietnam because, in his words, he, quote, wanted to give something back. While overseas, the Cowboys would send Roger boxes of footballs so he could toss them around. But Staubach kept needing more, and the Cowboys weren't sure why. One day, a Cowboys personnel person was like, hey, Roger, why do you need all these balls? Where are they all going? And Roger was like, oh yeah, we were keeping them in a tent about 100 yards from where we stay, and a mortar shell landed on them and blew them all up. And I'm sure the personnel guy was just like, oh, okay. When on his 2-week military leave, Roger would attend Cowboys training camp, tear it up, make defenders look silly, and then be like, all right, guys, see you next year. But the Cowboys did allow him to take a playbook back to the Navy with him. People today always say the joke like, oh, bro's doing side quests whenever anybody, specifically like famous people and athletes, are doing things we don't usually see them do. I think the latest side quest I saw was people saying, oh, bro's doing side quests when there was a video of Tyreek Hill getting into an F1 car. Like, bro, Roger was the inventor of doing side quests. This is the king of side quests right here. He's like, oh, I'm gonna play some college football and win the Heisman. Pretty cool, right? But now I'm gonna go serve in Vietnam. But on my off time, I'm gonna come to Cowboys training camp and play really well. But then I'm gonna go back to the Navy and keep doing Navy stuff. And, you know, when I'm kind of old, I'll come back and play professional football. But, you know, when I'm not at my athletic peak, I'll still absolutely tear it up with the best athletes in the world. His final years of service were back in the United States, which gave him the opportunity to play football on a naval officers team. This team would play smaller football colleges like Middle Tennessee and Troy, and also other military teams like the Marines. So you remember how I said Roger would leave the Cowboys training camp with their playbook? Well, he decided to use that playbook for his naval officers team. Yeah, that's right. He used plays drawn up by the legendary coach Tom Landry against guys who were basically just playing after work for fun. These guys weren't trying to go to the NFL or anything. It just feels like this is like Aaron Judge showing up to your company softball event and just like hitting absolute dingers. Or Tom Brady coming to your family's turkey bowl, two-hand touched, calling out all the plays, audibling at the line, doing some crazy stuff when you guys are just, you know, having a fun little time. But in 1969, at age 27, Roger finally got to join the Cowboys as a full-time player. Craig Morton, a former first-round pick, was the Cowboys' starting quarterback. 2 years later, after some pressure from Staubach, Landry decided to roll with a two-quarterback system. But this 2-QB system didn't last very long because Landry had a feeling that Staubach was the team's guy. So finally, at age 29, Staubach was named the Cowboys' starting quarterback. That same season that he became a starter, he led the Cowboys all the way to a Super Bowl victory. And oh yeah, he also didn't lose a single game he started that season, which is actually insane. Like, imagine Trey Lance takes over right now for the 49ers, even though he was technically the starter last year. He really didn't get a chance to start. Imagine he's the starter this season. He doesn't lose a single game that he's the starter, and he takes them all the way to the Super Bowl. Like, people would flip out. That'd be crazy. During Staubach's career, he led the Cowboys to 4 Super Bowl appearances. He got the Cowboys to one of those big game appearances because of the first ever Hail Mary pass. In the 1975 divisional round matchup versus the Vikings, the Cowboys were down 14-10 with 24 seconds to go. The ball was at midfield. Roger threw the ball as far as he could down the sideline to wide receiver Drew Pearson, who caught it and made his way into the end zone for the Cowboys to win the game. After the game, Roger was asked, what was going through your mind when you made that throw? He said, I just closed my eyes and said a Hail Mary, and boom. That's how the Hail Mary was born. In 1977, Roger won his second and final Super Bowl versus the Broncos. And this is where the storyline gets a little dramatic, right? Because guess who the Broncos starting quarterback was? The guy Roger replaced as QB1 in Dallas. Craig Morton. In 1980, Staubach retired. Some may say he retired a little too early, but he decided to end his career because of concerns with concussions. He finished his career with 6 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowls, and 1 Super Bowl MVP. And 5 years later, he went on to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.